Hot take. World Cup should get rid of prelims, move to timed finals, and also move back to a 2-day format. Do you agree or disagree? Welcome to Social Kick. We got the full crew. I'm Brian Lundquist. He's Dr. John Mullen. That's Luke Baddington. And the man joining us from Singapore, Bobby Hurley. What's happening, dude? How are you?
Hey, guys. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. Thanks for inviting me back on. And keen to just chat some swimming with you guys.
Yeah, Luke is really living in his still post-World Championship Masters afterglow, getting to connect with the great Bobby Hurley. He's all awesome. Talk about, we got to get you back on, man. So we're excited to have you back on to chat some. But first, can you give us just a bit of a snapshot on, was Luke calm when he was around you trying to, race Masters and go for his medal performance?
I mean, I don't. It was the first time I met Luke. I don't know you too well, Luke, but you were on a high there. That's one of the happiest master swimmers I've ever seen. At your first World Championships. You had a lot to talk about in a great city as well. And who knows, you might be back doing some more racing at that level as well. But it sounds like you had a lot of fun and put in some serious training for that, by the way.
It sounds like we need a fourth member of our relay, guys.
Luke will not stop.
I do have a Trinidad cap now.
You do have a Trinidad cap.
I got a Trinidad cap.
Get a citizenship, Luke. We're all going to be training.
Could be anybody can swim for the club.
So, listen, I'll take a vacation now.
Everyone's a club swimmer, right?
You're sponsoring our trip, right?
Exactly.
That's the way that goes. We got all the money. So for context, if you haven't heard Bobby on our show before, go back and listen to episode number, as a returning guest and friend of the pod. Bobby, of course, has been commentary for World Aquatics for a lot of meets, not this year for the World Cup, but this world, well, and have also raced at an elite level and have like the unique perspective of someone who's both competed in World Cups in your era and which was a different format back then, which we talked about on our last show when we had you on. So we're going to spend this time on this show talking a bit about what's happening right now in the World Cup, what the World Cup is. We'll touch on who's swimming in it, maybe some of who's not swimming in it, and just kind of be swim fans too. So excited to have Bobby on to help us with that conversation. And so for starters, the first stop of this year's World Cup has just wrapped up in Carmel, Indiana. The World Cup, itself is a 3-stop. It is currently a 3-stop mini tour of sorts that happens every fall, or at least North America fall. I guess, what season is it for you guys down there, Bobby? Do you even have seasons? You're in Singapore.
Well, in Singapore, it's just hot and wet every day.
So if it's hot and wet, it could be World Cup season. So for the North America autumn or fall, it's usually around that time. And then it tends to rotate too between continents. So, it was last in North America in 2022, and then it went to Europe, and then it was in Asia. And now it's back in North America this year. For some reason, we exclude Latin America or Africa. Those apparently don't count. So we never rotate down. Australia, sorry, maybe you'll get one at some point. But, that's changed a lot too. And now it's a 3-stop series. Back in your day, what was it, 8 stops, Bobby? Was that the maximum?
Yeah, it was.
How many do you have?
Yeah, 8. I did the full tour, 8 legs in 2008, 2012, 13, 14. 8 countries, 2-day meets in about 5 weeks. So you did a lot of racing, you did a lot of racing, much more than these guys now.
So much racing. Yeah. And so, there's still, some would say that 3 weekends in a row of swim meets is a lot of racing. It's kind of similar to what we saw in, back when the ISL was a thing, with, meets stacked in a row. But essentially, if you're an athlete that's training in North America, you're popping from hotel to hotel. So there are some athletes that have come over from other continents that we'll get to that, do a training trip to America or a racing trip to America just to, collect some money to get some good racing in. And so, but it's like kind of a full complete trip that they go. It's not like they're going back home in between each stop. And so now it's a 3-day meet format for each of these stops, 3 weekends in a row. And so we just finished the Carmel, Indiana stop. The next ones are in Westmont, Illinois, which is in, we'll call it Greater Chicago area. And then the final stop of this year's tour is in Toronto. So Now, I have gotten the question before about when talking about this World Cup, it's like, how is this different than the world champs that happened in Singapore? That was short course, right? Now now which ones are long course, and what's the difference between those? So I thought maybe, Bobby, you might be able to help us give our audience like some help explaining what is the World Cup and like how does it factor into the swimming calendar, because in soccer the World Cup is coming to North America in 2026, which is a huge deal, and but that's not what the swimming World Cup is.
No.
Can you kind of explain like how the World Cup factors into the swimming calendar?
I guess you would call the World Cups like probably the second tier international competition that's available for every country in the world to go compete at. You are representing your country at an international level competition, but there's no restrictions as to how many entries per country can compete, how many events you can do, and essentially it's a very loose qualifying procedure as well. So I think it gives athletes like a really good chance to get a taste of international experience for the first time and travel. I certainly did them at 18, 19 years old and was rooming with, much more credentialed Australian guys that I learned a lot from, racing and making finals and learning from some swimmers that I'd only ever really seen on TV before. So it gave me that taste of international racing before then going to a world short course or a long course or a Commonwealth Games or one of those much higher level competitions. And then for those superstar swimmers, especially the US swimmers, what we're seeing with the women at the moment, they don't normally race short course meters, That's why they just destroyed the world records last year. And it's good that I think North America are hosting the World Cup, so we actually can see more American swimmers race in short course meters, which is just such a rare thing. I think the last time they held the short course meters event was maybe around ISL times. So, it's a high level meet. There's prize money on offer. It's more, I guess, advertised prize money. There's obviously prize money at World Championships as well, but this seems to be, it's more of a money getting competition where more and more people have the chance and the eligibility to get prize money as well. And it's points based, as you said. It's a 3-tiered circuit. So not only are they racing against each other in certain events, but you might see people that don't actually race in the pool still competing for the overall title on a points basis. So in that regard, you could compare it to like an F1 or a tennis circuit rankings competition as well. So that adds something a little bit more to it, where you're just not seeing the same people race each other time and time again as well.
Yeah, that's right. Love that. And we love that money. I traveled some to Europe to make some money in my day. Didn't make nearly as much money as you, or for sure not as much money as some of these people are going to make. So let's talk about that. So last year, the World Cup overall winners were Kate Douglas and Leanne Marchand for their respective overall.
I've heard of them.
They're okay.
They're pretty good.
They're like among the most versatile, we would say. So the overall World Cup winner, just for achieving that top overall points win, gets $100,000. So Leon and Kate both got $100,000 last year. Second place gets 70, third place $30K, and then it goes on from 20 down to $5,000 for eighth place. So that's just for the overall accumulation of points. But they can also win points for winning individual events at each of these stops, which I think is $12K for a win, $10K for second, and on down from there
per 3-day stop, right? Yeah,
got it. Okay, yeah, and then there's like
we need to get to 12K per win.
Yeah,
we need to get to 12K per win. Now we're in Diamond League status here, and guys can rack up some money.
They get 10K if they set a world record.
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it's good money, especially for those versatile swimmers, and that's what it promotes. Just seeing them race in different events, off events. We saw Leon race a few events that we don't normally see him do as well. But I think we spoke about this last year as well. Where's the swimflation? I broke a world record in 2008 and it was 10 grand. For as long as I can remember, overall winner of the World Cup got 100 grand, maybe certainly at least 2008, maybe even well into the early 2000s, it was 100 grand. Like 100 grand was worth a lot more then than it is now.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I don't know. That's your question for World Aquatics, my friend. We'll have to figure that out.
I mean, that's one of my biggest points of contention is just the money situation. I don't know. I mean, I get into it more later, but I feel like to make this more exciting, there still needs to be a little bit more money, especially for the big names at this meet, just to get them to do everything at these competitions and stops.
And then, John, it costs money for them to go. Not everybody gets a trip paid to go out there. So you get South Africans have to pay their own way to get there. A lot of Europeans. So they're probably putting out, what, $10K to even travel to these 3 meets.
Yeah.
Except for the Aussies.
Yeah, it's a big
thing.
Yep. Yeah, it's a big expense like that, and not every federation is going to fund this. One, because it's short course, and two, because it's basically off peak as well, right? So I mean, the money can be increased. The difficult thing is when we compare to other sports as well. Like there's so many different events in swimming. What is there, like 13 or 15 different individual events on the men's and the women's side offered at every competition, right? So it's not like we're really giving it out to the best swimmer. That's where the overall prize money comes in like that. But yeah, now with the system being the top 20 overall getting paid, even making a few $1,000s, but you're literally one of the top 20 best swimmers in the world, and you're, for the most part, probably just trying to make your expenses back.
Yeah. Well, let's speak about who's making those expenses. John, you were going to rock through who's actually competing at these meets, who's not here notably. You want to take us through that?
Yeah, of course. And I'm probably going to miss some people there because there are a lot of big names here. I got to give it to World Aquatics for getting a lot of the big name swimmers here. I mean, you have Leon, at least he did the first stop. He's not expected to do the rest of them. You have Hubi Koch, the Walsh sisters, Gretchen and Alex, both great swimmers. Reagan Smith, Kaylee McEwen from Australia, the best backstroker of all time. Luke Hobson of US, Jack Alexi. Who else do we have here? Chad Leclos, still moving, still getting through these stops. I think someone said Chad Leclos 6.0. Here he is. He's reinventing himself again. Thomas Ciccone from Italy. Adam Peaty is there with a few more tattoos, I think. Still up there representing some breaststroke. Merritt Steenberger from, I think, the Netherlands. Josh Liendo and Ilya Karun from Canada. So a lot of, I think, big name swimmers here, but like you said, there are some notable people not there. It's not every great swimmer here across the world. Summer McIntosh notably missed the first stop due to illness. She's expected to be there, supposed to be there for all 3 stops, I believe. So hopefully she can get back to the Westmont, because not having her is, I mean, she's a big draw, especially in North America, but I imagine everywhere where there's swimming fans. And but other notable people.
Can you imagine her not being there in Toronto? Shit.
I know.
They want their
Canada had great representation. I mean, one thing we could get into, I'm not sure how countries are determining who's going, if it's like, expectations from your national teams. Maybe Bobby and Brian know more, but it is interesting how a lot of Canada's here. Obviously, it's in North America. That makes some sense. A lot of Australians are out here, though. At least on the women's side, represented well. A lot of Japanese swimmers are here, represented well. But then you have, most notably, Russia, really not on the radar at all at this competition. China, not really any representation. And then some other big names, Kyle Chalmers, Chlorine Daddy, Mr. Popovich, as well as, no, I think those are kind of the main ones I can think of. And I'm sure, like I said, I missed a few names. What was that? Ledecky. Yep. Caleb Dressel, guys. I guess. I mean, if he's still on the radar here, hopefully. But yeah, maybe, Bobby, any more insights into which countries do decide to go to this, or it's just all individual, federation decisions?
Yeah, well, again, as I said, from my knowledge, it's not federation funded to go to this, because it's short course and it's off peak season. So it's more so the swimmers that want to go and want to compete. And generally, if you're somebody who's fast in season, you're going to want to go to those prize money meets, right? That's why we're seeing Sam Short there, Lani Pallister making the big trip over, because they know that they're going to be fast in season. They're good trainers. Kaylee McEwen as well. They can just pop off anything at any given time. I think the Netherlands usually funded their athletes to go. They would probably put something behind that. And they've always had a pretty strong representation. So Casper Corbeau, obviously swimming really well in Carmel as well. But for me, last year was pretty weak in terms of the heats. We went to Beijing, where there was just barely, 12 or 15 swimmers that were non-Chinese competing at the meet, and then Incheon, and then Singapore, a few more, and you had a lot more Oceania swimmers and whatnot, but a lot of them only joined for maybe 2 of the 3 legs. But this time around, obviously heats are really deep. Being in the US, we're seeing people swim short course meters for a very rare occasion, but it should be everybody from the US should be there in my eyes. Like, even if you're in season training, you just want to go race, get that international experience, like everybody should be. When Sydney used to host the World Cup leading into, I think their last one was 2008, it was compulsory for everybody on the national team to go and compete. And you'd see people, go and swim 1 or 2 heat swims and pull out of finals or whatnot. But again, they're the swimmers. If Dressel and Ledecky were racing 2 domestic international meets, like, wouldn't that be good for the sport of swimming in the US? But again, when we go back to the money, it's not enough money to draw those people in, but it's enough money to get, some college guys, some people who are fast in season. Obviously, the Canadians are going to be promoting that because they've got the last leg of the tour. But really, there should be more US swimmers there. The ones that you've just named are basically like the UVA girls and Bob Bowman's squad, right? With Leon, Summer and that. So if you took Texas out, I mean, the meet is so watered down already. So you need to get the coach buy-in to go. It's got to be accessible and affordable for the swimmers, but you also need the coaches and the programs to start supporting it.
Yeah, I think that also leads to
excited. There, I was going to say, I know Bowman's excited. He's like, fuck yeah, let's put Carson Foster in the mile and Shane in the 4 a.m. I'm happy to send these athletes here just to watch them suffer a little bit more.
Yeah, but I think your point,
and those guys train hard as well from everything I hear, but they haven't swam slow here, have they? Right? So it shows that. And again, you never see like Carson Foster swim short course meters, for example. So there's ways to get around it and swim fast, and people aren't, different to, 5 or 10 years ago. I'll go, oh, well, Shane Cassis is swimming good here, so he's going to be poor next year. Like, if he's swimming good now, and again, the reputation now with Bob, he's going to be on fire next year. So if you can swim good in October, like, go for it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think your point though highlights a real inflection point, at least in America, for what's happening in swimming more broadly, because USA membership was down. And, we've had this long drawn out search for a new CEO who has been hired, but you would think that a long-term strategic plan for growing the sport domestically in your country would involve doing whatever it takes to get the biggest stars of the sport there participating, to engage fans, to have some presence. And so that, I think, to your point, is definitely a miss. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, do we know how it works with World Aquatics has the notable nine athletes that, I don't know, somehow they cherry picked as their like big names coming to the event? Do they get paid extra to make appearances at this competition? Are you familiar with that at all, Bobby?
No, I'm not sure if they get an appearance fee to do that. I'm sure they get their expenses covered to go there and be able to compete. And you see sort of on social media, they're doing a few extracurriculars as well to just show their lighter side and spend time together and promote the sport in the city that they're at. But not any appearance fee from my knowledge. But it's also unusual that Leon's doing 1 and not 3. And I don't know about the rest of the Texas guys, but nothing's been said that they're only doing 1. So, I mean, again, still maybe not enough to entice Leon to do all 3. Last year he did all 3, and then he pulled out of Short Course Worlds, which is, he was on fire at the World Cups, but couldn't, maybe mentally or physically hold it together for another 4 weeks. And I know a lot of swimming fans would have wanted to see what he could do in Budapest too. But it's a tough one, because when you get these really bigger name stars, like basically Leon and Summer, who are, the 2 hottest swimmers in the world right now, it's hard to entice them to get up and race more and more frequently, right? Because they're making, they've got opportunities that are bigger than the sport right now.
Mm-hmm. I think some of the points that we were making earlier is what really got me excited about watching the World Cups. Yes, we like to see fast swimming. Yes, we like to see world records, but seeing how they are attacking October. And I think if the commentary could really have the audience understand what it's like to race a World Cups in October, what that means. They're in heavy training. They're probably going back into heavy training today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. You're probably getting a glimpse of what Leon, Hubie, and Shane look like in a workout every single day when they're racing together. So we're getting a glimpse of like what their sets probably look like down in Austin. We're seeing Adam Peaty getting back into it, being human, swimming in lane 8 under a heavy workload probably. And what's he like? It's more relatable. So it's nice to not just see them at the top of their game when they're fully rested and fully in shape and everybody's on the same board. It's nice to see how some people race. How some people race under pressure, under workload. How some people are now getting back into shape. How people are getting used to short course meters. I mean, Jack Alex is still getting used to short course meters and still busting crazy times. So I think if we were to paint that, that's the fascinating part of the World Cup, is what it really means for Americans to swim the World Cups and what it means to swim World Cups in October. And why aren't more coaches, Bobby, like you said, getting the athletes to come and race under duress? Because isn't racing some of the best form of training? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I love doing the World Cups and certainly, coming off a big preparation and a long preparation in the Singapore World Champs, which wasn't that long ago either. And as we saw, like there's still plenty of really fast swimming happening. But again, coaches aren't paid to get their athletes to swim fast at a World Cup and get medals at a World Cup, right? So that's not their priority. And again, it's not funded by the federation either. But my question to you guys is like, what's cooler to see, like, just a Jack Alexi right now swim, see what he can do at this time of the year in short course meters and try and improve that over the next few weeks, or like watching him do a 50 backstroke, or seeing these guys fresh. Now they're only racing once a day in a 3-day meet, or, years ago watching Katinka take on like 12 individual events, or Maluli did it before, or Randall Bauer going undefeated on a whole tour, and watching people race off events under fatigue. And then you get somebody new come to the new continent and race. We would get 5 or 6 meets in, and then, oh man, like Florent Manadou and Jeremy Stravius have just rocked up to one of the World Cups. Great. Now I've got to deal with these guys who are fresh, shaved and tapered while we've been on tour for a month, like what promotes the sport more? I don't have a question for that. I don't have the answer for that.
Yeah, I was going to call bullshit on Luke's comment, but I don't know. Now that you guys are talking more about off events, I do think having athletes in off events, but maybe in a different light where they're against other athletes in off events. I know B's talked about this a few times, could make the sport fun, but I still think having the superstar there, like Katinka or Leon or Summer could do it, where it's like, hey, watch them do 12 events in 3 days and win 10 of them. And we'll give them $1 million if they can win all this. I mean, that would draw me in.
You get a bounty hunter.
I'm the swimmer. Yeah, exactly. But I don't know, that type of stuff. I think watching the elites, or Caleb in his prime do a similar thing, is what's really exciting in my eyes. And where this competition can be different is, okay, we know you can race more short course than long course, or more frequently. Now let's just do that and see some of these elites really push themselves for our entertainment, I guess.
Can we at least
remember
some? Go ahead, Bobby.
Sorry, I remember last year in Singapore, last leg on the last day, Kate Douglas didn't do the 200 IM for no specific reason, right? She had already won and wrapped up the World Cup because she'd already won 3 events there, and there was no incentive to race that event. And she said she doesn't like to race that event. It's a tough event. But previously there was at least like $1,500 to win a race. So you'd go in and win the race, right? But she just sat out that day because the job was done, right? I mean, that's the game. That's the format.
Yeah, I think we could spice it up too if we put like some Red Bull diving in from the rafters. That'd be kind of sick in the middle of the format. But no, I was just going to call out. Luke, you made a comment about everybody being like under load right now, and I don't know that that's the case. I think what you see is Leon, getting beat in some races. What we know, that's an early indication of maybe where his form and fitness is and what his focus is on this. Whereas Gretchen broke a world record, and and Shane broke an American record. And so anybody who's like breaking records at this competition, like one argument is that they just swim fast in season, which is true for some people. Like Reagan Smith is notorious for swimming really fast in season, for example. But I think there's other people that came intentionally fresh to break records to win money. You know, they saw this as a money grab, and there's enough time now to compete in this meet, in this series, before the next like major thing, that there's no reason why this can't just be like a big focus on the calendar that they prepared for, they rested for, and they're coming here to swim really fast. I think that's the weird thing about an event like this, is that other major swimming competitions, whether that's the World Championships or the Short Course Worlds, and that one even is sometimes not like a peak meet for some athletes. We do see this in the NCAAs, that's like, we know that everybody there is peaking, but at the World Cup, we just don't see everybody there peaking. And I think that's what is a little bit intriguing. And, you know, personally, I don't want to see Diaceto like, you know, coasting in the last 25 of a 400 IM, getting totally roasted, you know, like that's not, but I mean, I don't know, maybe there's some entertainment value in that too, but it's more about like, oh, what kind of focus did they have? Are they just coming here to be here, or, you know, they come in to compete? So.
Well, it was the competing that got me really excited from this last Carmel, and it's kind of a segue into the Carmel recap. But to me, what did you guys prefer? The Gretchen world record, or see Leon race Shane, or Leon race Casper in the 2 breasts and the 2 IM? And just that hard racing. To me, the racing got it to me, and that's what World Cups are. It's racing. Fast swimming, sexy, amazing. But that racing to me really fired me up from a swimming fan point of view. And maybe that's a segue into the Carmel recap.
Yeah, especially when we're talking Leon, and it's like, wow, he got beaten, and guys are challenging him and racing him head on. But also, I mean, great from Leon as well that he's not scared to race. You know, he's not scared to race a 400 freestyle or a 200 breaststroke, 200 backstroke, and take on literally like the best guys in the world, short course swimmers in the world, and do that, which is good to see, because again. Yeah. He could have protected and just swam a couple of medley events and especially that 400 IM and probably won that pretty comfortably. But he's trying to test himself and test his limits a little bit. I mean, Gretchen's again a world record. It's always amazing, but I mean, she's beating the field by so much. She's just so far superior as a sprint female in the short course pool compared to anybody else in history. We're really just, you're watching a race, but you're just watching one person see how fast she can swim. So I agree with you. I like close racing, whether it's like 12-year-old kids or the World Cup. I just want to see good racing, you know?
Yeah. And just to recap some of the meet for those that didn't follow it that closely, there, you know, you do get points for winning events and points for every place here. So a lot of the World Cup, they'll break it down into who has the most points after kind of each stop and leading the points all the way, like Bobby was talking about. Kate Douglas last year was so far ahead in points, she didn't have to do that last 2 IM. But after the first stop, we have the women's standings. We have Gretchen Walsh with 59.1 points, and she won the 50 fly, 100 fly, world record in the 50 fly, by the way, and then the 100 IM. Then we had Kate Douglas in second with 58.9 points, and I believe she won the 100 free, 200 breast, 100 breast, and perhaps swam some more. I'm sorry if I missed any of those. And then we have
second in the 100 IM.
Yep, perfect. Thanks, Bobby. And then we have Kaylee McCune up there with 56.8 points, and I believe she won. What did she win? She won the 100 back,
50 back.
Okay,
and then Reagan won the 100.
So, yep. Okay. Yeah. Yep. And then just going down some of the other names on the list, just so everyone knows, you have Reagan Smith up there, Lonnie Pallister, Molly Callahan, who we haven't even talked about, is doing well and maybe on world record watching that 200 free, since she doesn't do short course too often. So that's kind of the rough breakdown of the women's side. And then on the men's side, we have Hubi Kosh, trains at Texas, but from Hungary. He, I think, swept the backstroke events, and not sure what else was he in. Did he do 2 IM as well?
Maybe 1 fly, maybe.
100 IM, I think.
Okay, 100 IM. Yeah, he was up there.
Second or third in that. Yeah.
Yep. And then surprise up here for most of us, I'd say, not that he's not a great swimmer, but Casper Corbeau from Oregon originally, but representing the Netherlands, trained at Texas, and unfortunately then had a stint at IU. But he, what did he win? He won all the breaststrokes. I mean, God. Up there, at least in all of them. He won the 200, like Luke said, a great race against Leon. Leon was charging hard at the end of that 200, but Casper held him off with his 6'7" frame. Then after that, we had Carson Foster at third here, 55.4, doing a bunch of events. Like I mentioned, he did the mile. I mean, geez, I can't tell you last time I saw Carson do anything longer than a 400. But got second in the mile behind Sam Short, I believe, as well as doing a lot of other events. I believe he did. What else did he do? 2IM? 4 free?
He won the 400 free, 4IM.
400 free. Yep, excellent. And then we have Ilya Karun up there, 55.4, with also an odd kind of Kaylee split, winning the 50 and the 200, but losing the 100 of the butterflies. And then he got second, I think, in the 50 free. So Ilya becoming more and more a sprinter, shall we say, but once again, winning the 2 fly in a great race. And seeing him and Noe Ponte, who we haven't mentioned at these events, is going to be some exciting races in the sprint flies for sure.
Can I do a quick follow on Ilya Karun?
Of course. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people who said, okay, he chose to stay at ASU. What does that mean to train with Herbie? And, you know, we've seen how good he's gotten at the sprints, like pure sprints. And I have kind of put a pin in that and said, I don't know what that's going to do to his 200, especially 200 long course. So far, still holding strong, you know, and I have to say that's like a bit surprising. I don't know what like the long-term impact of that is. As a sprint fan and an appreciation for the 50 fly out of all events, I love it. I love seeing him do like super fast in the sprint flies versus, you know, the 200. But that's just one for me that I'm still like is on my radar for the next Olympic cycle is will we see Ilya Karun hang on to the 200 fly? So anyway, that's it.
Yeah,
I think
it's becoming an Olympic event, right? So it's kind of can you stay versatile at all three is a very tough task, as we all know.
Well, more and more people are gonna specialize now that there's more options, more gold medals on offer, right? But I think Ilya Karun's like really underrated internationally. Obviously, he's a star in college swimming, but his 2 bronze medals in Paris were really clutch. And he's always a threat, even in Singapore. He probably didn't have the best meet, but he's a threat. And short course is just electric underwater. And he doesn't have the best start. Like he just picks everybody up off those turns. But in terms of where his career goes, like I wouldn't imagine he's a major player in a long course 50 fly. I don't think that's really, you know, he needs that turn for that 50 fly speed. But the 200 fly also took a really big step forward in Singapore with Luca and Chemlovsky, and you've still got Milak to come into that and march on. Like now you're looking at like 152s to get on the podium, which is a lot quicker than it was a few years ago as well. So he's gonna have some tough choices to make as well. But he's got range and he's got a background. He's got unbelievable skills. So I think he's pretty underrated.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite swimmers to watch for sure, and friend of the pod. So okay, so Carmel, let's just talk about like some of our takeaways from this first stop. We're going to hit on some top performances and surprises. First, I just wanted to mention that for anyone who's not been to Carmel, Indiana, they're like self-branded as Swim City, USA. That kind of, I don't know when that came about, but you know, the swimming Olympic trials in the US for a long time has been in Indianapolis. It had a brief couple stints in Omaha where they built a temporary pool in an arena that morphed into last year for Paris Olympic trials in the football stadium there in Indianapolis. With a giant crowd to watch swimming. And so Indianapolis itself has been, you know, a hub for U.S. swimming history. And so to have Carmel's only, a half hour north of, of a hub for American swimming in Indianapolis. And so it also, this high school has produced Olympians, Alex and Aaron Shackle, who else here? Jake Mitchell, Drew Kibler. There's some like big names in American swimming that have come through this high school and this high school program. Go ahead, John. What do you say?
Yeah, Kelly Pash, NCAA champion and the 200 fly. And then, I mean, just quite a list. I don't have them all here, but yeah, that's just, I think, scratching the surface, at least as far as, you know, that's the Olympians. But then beyond that, there's just a huge club contingent that go on to college and do quite well.
Yeah, so quite the feeder program and just like town and city and an affinity for swimming. So if you were to pinpoint like one spot in the U.S. that's like swim crazed, it is this place. And so that's like where we just saw the stop. And I wanted to maybe prompt Bobby with this. We talk about like the performances that stood out What do you think, from this Carmel stop, knowing who's been there and, what swims and point accumulations that we've seen thus far? What do you think were like what do you think was the very best performance that you saw in the Carmel stop?
I mean, statistically, you'd obviously say Gretchen's world record, but just going maybe some underrated and swims that, weren't maybe talked about much or seen. Like, I think, as you mentioned earlier, like Molly O'Callaghan's 200 freestyle, 150 point, and again, doesn't swim short course meters that much. We know she's a great underwater kicker as well. Like, we could very well see a 149 over the next couple of weeks, which would be, a monumental barrier to break. And similar to what we saw last year, all these guys will get quicker from each stop. And especially the Australians who had to travel all the way to the US for the first stop, they're going to get more rest, get over that jet lag. And again, you're resting through racing because you're just not, well, hopefully they're not just beating up through like 6K sessions, long course, all the way through. Obviously, they're probably maintaining some sort of aerobic work, but you're basically getting all your race pace training on the weekend through racing, because obviously they've got to do heats as well. So wouldn't surprise me to see everybody get quicker and finish with a bang in Toronto. I thought Lani Pallister was really good as well. Again, she won a surf race in Australia like a week or two ago, outdoors, open water, catching waves in the surf, running up the beach. And then she translates that into short course swimming. So she's a really skillful swimmer, versatile from the 200 all the way up to the 15. So she'll do the 1500 next week. I can't think of that world record off the top of my head, but she was on fire for a long way through that 800 free. And if Summer then joins in to maybe obviously a 400 or an 800, similar to what we saw in Singapore, like Lani's not afraid to go out and try and race these all-time greats. So she's surprised. She started off quick, and they're the two that I think will continue to improve as well. On the men's side, we already mentioned Shane Cassis as well. He's got range. I think he won the 100 backstroke world title in Abu Dhabi in 2021, and obviously he's got the medleys. He medaled in the 200 backstroke as well, the 100 IM. He's a threat, but obviously his 200 IM to go head to head and beat Leon, beat his training partner, and he broke the American record, as you mentioned, went faster than what he did in Budapest, shaved and tapered in a big time final, which is impressive to do again on stop number one. He should get quicker, and if he gets any quicker than what he is, he's going to be pushing on that world record, and who would have thought that, like, Cassis is better, faster than Lochte in that event, in that main event, and obviously a big step ahead of what Phelps did in the short course pool as well, and he might be chasing Marchand. So this could be kicking off like a big few years for Cassis, especially after that 154 he swam in Singapore. And again, with that Texas group like Hubert Koch, I think I'm really surprised he's got so much speed over the 50 for a 200 guy, because for a long time he was just like a long course 200 back, 200 IM guy, right? And he's tall and skinny, but his underwater's improved a lot at ASU. And obviously he's Olympic champion now, and that seems to have lifted a lot of pressure off him. And now he's got all this speed. Like, I was a 50 back guy trying to break 23 for a long time, and he's going 22.6 in season when he's the 200 backstroke Olympic champion. So he's a really impressive swimmer, medaled in Singapore in the 200 IM as well. So he's super versatile. And, that 200 back world record from Mitch Larkin, even Coleman Stewart's 48.3. Again, if he can keep progressing, keep resting, and keep getting those walls right, like could see Koch break his first individual world record and really announce himself as a superstar.
Yeah, great points. What stood out to you, Jay?
Yeah, I think Bobby mentioned a bunch of them. I think particularly that race in the two back, Leon just went for it, was out first at the 100 by a good amount, and then Hubie drawing him in, and then a great post-race interview with Hubie calling Leon a psychopath and John Mason cracking up. I think that was a great moment all around there. And then I think also in the pool, I think, Casper Corbeau, I mean, second in the points, doing well in breaststroke, looking really strong just throughout all the breaststrokes. I think he had some of the best performances, and holding off Leon, charging so hard at the end of that 200 breast was great to see. So I think those are the ones, as well as the ones Bobby mentioned. I was on the edge of my seat for a freaking 800 free because Lani was right there at the world record, ahead of it, I think, through like 400, like Bobby was mentioning. 800 doesn't always get me rolling, but yeah, let's throw Summer in the mix and get Lonnie a little more acclimated to the time zone, and we'll see if she can push the world record a little bit more. Lonnie's been on fire these last, year and a half, 2 years, so I don't see why not. I mean, I keep thinking, oh, how much more is she going to improve? And she just keeps chunking away at improvements little by little in a very, very crowded event field nowadays in the 400, 800 and mile for women. But she just keeps, rising to the occasion and being kind of the unsung hero in those events. So I've been excited to see her progressions and her improve. And then last non-swimmer, John Mason, best performance, man. He's killing it on these post interviews, just with his random comments saying, yeah, Reagan, you do the 200 back. I'm glad it hurts for you. I don't want to do it. And little quips like that just make me actually enjoy the post-race interviews a little bit more than I used to years ago, when it was, oh, you don't speak English, we better just cut it short here and move along to the next one. So keep it up, John.
He's one of a kind, John. It's a tough job, but he loves the World Cup because he's doing every interview, and he's in front of the camera and doing what he loves. But really busy time, but it would take 3 people to replace what John Mason does.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, Luke, what stood out to you?
Obviously, Dylan Carter being back in the podium. No, I'm teasing. But seeing
hey, Dylan swam pretty well, man. He swam well.
He's getting back there. But to see, I was watching the 50 back as a Dylan, and I was watching Dylan's 50 back. He was going hard. And then to see what Hubie did, I was like, wait, how does a 6-7 frame turn over so fast and get us underwater so fast and get to that wall? I don't know how he physically did that, because if you listen to Hubie's show with us, he is still trying to figure out his tempo and increase his tempo in his last 50 of his 200 back. And to get that from the get-go in short course meters, Bobby, you're right. That's super impressive by Hubie. So I was impressed by that. I was impressed by the old guys, Kasia Wasik and Chad Leclos being up there in their early 30s and still up there and racing and being solid. I mean, kudos, Chad came out from a major injury and is back there and racing. So that's a really solid performance. You can say about the young kids as well, which we'll get to, Shinoshashi from Japan. But Molly's 2-free to me was very impressive, because she was just there racing a bunch of other races, come get some silver, some bronze. And then it's like, oh, don't forget about me. I'm Molly O'Callahan. Boom. And she almost dropped the hammer. So I thought that was, on the women's side, if not overall, Molly's race was, to me, a really impressive and exciting race. Brian?
I think you guys have hit pretty much everything here, but I think so. I honestly don't know that there were many surprises for me. I think it's obvious to point out, the point earnings and world records. I've got a pin in whether or not there's going to be that many more world records set at this meet. I mean, I think what we've seen in the last few years is that short course meters is by and large the Gretchen Walsh show. So that seems to be continuing, that it's just running a train on world records. And I know John asked her on deck, like, this is a theme. Every time you get in the short course pool, it just seems like there's more and more records, what's out there. And she, gave, an answer about, like, yeah, when it's you're chasing yourself at a certain point, it's, you're just trying to find new ways to get better every day. And I think that I'm glad that we have moments to highlight something like this, because I think even though Gretchen has proven that she can show up and win a world title individually long course, she obviously tried to do that in Paris and it didn't pan out, and she came in second to Tori there and not having her best performance at the meet. So I think what's unfortunate sometimes is you have these swimmers who are really, really good at short course meters, and they don't necessarily get their moment in the sun in respect from the rest of the swimming community. And my hope is that Gretchen's already done that long course, and so I think she's earned her clout there. But we're seeing dominance and something that I think should really be appreciated in terms of swimming history with what Gretchen Walsh is able to do in the short course pool. And so I think to me, it's just Gretchen showing up at another major international short course meet and doing Gretchen things in the short course pool. And then I think the other one I wanted to add to that too is the versatility of some swimmers these days. I think Kate's fresher for this meet than Leon is, but you talked earlier about, you mentioned Lochte and one of the most versatile swimmers ever, Bobby and Shane being, eclipsing what Lochte was able to do, and Phelps, we never really saw, focus on this format, but like seeing somebody like Kate Douglas, who has an unprecedented level of versatility, being able to like bring a fresh, approach to a World Cup and showcase like what's possible, I just think is so cool. So I'm glad that some of the best swimmers, not only long course but also short course, have come to this meet in this series to put on their best performance. And so to me, I'm just like stoked about that. I'm not as stoked about like anybody who doesn't come in that fresh and is just like come in a race. Like races are cool, but you guys talked about like, race versus records earlier, and like I like seeing the fast swimming. That's what I like to see. So I don't know, those are the main takeaways for me. What do you got, John?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, just highlight Kate Douglas again. I mean, she won the 100 breast, won the 200 breast by over 3 seconds, and then while they're coming out for the 100 free, I think they announced 100, 200 breast champion, and I think the camera caught Molly, and she's just like shaking her head like, who wins the freaking 100 and 200 breast, and then is up here in lane 4 of the 100 free, and backs it up with a win, which doesn't shock any of us because she is, like you said, so versatile and so amazing. And geez, if Gretchen wasn't doing what Gretchen's doing, I think Kate would be getting a lot of the more highlights because her versatility is unprecedented, especially in yards. But geez, I guess in long course too. I mean, geez, she was good at all these events long course, so it's really, really something there.
We've never seen essentially at this level a breaststroker, like a pure breaststroker, or Leon's winning Olympics, Kate Douglas winning Olympic golds, that can also underwater dolphin kick. Like when you think in history at the top level, but even think to like your age group club team, what breaststroker is also the fastest underwater dolphin kicker in the squad, let alone in the world? Like it just doesn't happen. And now we're getting 2 at the same time. Like Phelps and Lochte were obviously amazing IMers, but they weren't pure breaststrokers. Kitty wasn't a pure breaststroker, right? You go back through history, and now you've got like Marchand, what he did in that 200 breaststroke in Paris, alongside everything else, and what Douglas does short course, and to throw down in freestyle. It's what's the secret that we're missing here? How are they able to do that? How do they have that mobility and power both ways in their ankles when we've never seen it in history before?
Yeah, Bobby, I also asked you about that. When you and I talked, one of the things what I like about your commentary is that you often insert immediate coaching reactions to races. Like you immediately see something like, oh, that looked like it's just past 15, or that looked like a different turnover, or that looked like one less stroke count. What did you see in these stops from a stroke wise from an athlete that like, oh, that was interesting, that was new, that was different, that stood out to you, that's maybe an evolution or something they're trying different or what have you? Did you see anything?
Yeah, I mean, generally when I am commentating, at World Championships, if something catches my eye, like I've seen a lot of swimming, whether it's on TV or in person or commentating. So if something catches my eye, it's pretty noteworthy, right? So and then generally I just talk about it. That's my job when I'm commentating like that. But the thing that when I look at short course swimming now, I mean, underwater dolphin kicking off the wall is one thing, but even if you're not a great underwater kicker, you can still be a great short course swimmer. If you can just hold that streamline, you glide and not even do any kicks. Like Lani's turns, again, for a surf swimmer, we don't, in Australia, we got a lot of Ironman and surf swimmers and triathletes and whatnot, but they can't kick, they can't tumble turn, they can't streamline, right? She ticks all those boxes. So she can like whip into that turn and then just not lose any speed coming off without underwater kicking, without actually spending that energy underwater kicking. And we saw that in Singapore as well. And then short course, it's great. Like she won the 4, 8 and 15 in Melbourne short course a few years ago. And again, as you said, she's up against the most stacked fields in history, but she got Dean Boxall as a coach and Ariane Titmus as a training partner. And I think that's really going to push her. I mean, my experience to that, like I raced Biederman in a suit in 2009 when he broke that 400 free world record. So I was in that 400 free final in Berlin, home crowd for him. next to him. And I mean, the year before I broke the 50 back world record, right? Like I'm a pretty good underwater kicker. I'd go 3 to 4 underwater kicks in a 400 freestyle and then build that up to like 5, 6, 7 off those last 3 turns. And I'm doing 4 underwater dolphin kicks next to Biederman early in that race. He's pushing and gliding in a suit and just holding streamline, and we're at the same pace. And I'm like, hang on, I'm spending all this energy underwater and he's just holding a line and doing that. So obviously, that was different with the suit, but it shows like if you've got a great ability to streamline, if you can dolphin kick, that's great. But even if you can just streamline, you can be a good short course swimmer as well.
Well, if you can't streamline, I don't know why you're swimming. So you got this is the most fundamental skill.
The other thing we talked about Hubie Kosh earlier as well. I mean, it sort of reminded me, again, I'd like to, I got a lot of stories and experience and my own knowledge as well. But like when Chad beat Phelps in 2012, it feels like a long time ago now. He was just a kid doing like 200 flies, 400 irons, right? Just a kid from South Africa. Then he went to Istanbul short course later that year. He didn't race any World Cups from memory. Then he went to Istanbul and obviously didn't swim the 200 fly, won the 100 fly. And then he almost beat Nicholas Santos in the 50 fly. I think it was 1/100th or 2/100ths in it. And he went like 21.8, 21.9 from memory. I mean, this is 13 years ago. And I'm like, hang on, that's the long course 200 fly Olympic champion that now has short course 50 speed. Like, where did that come from? And obviously then off the back of that, Chad had an amazing couple of years, and especially in the short course pool. And now we're seeing that from Hubie, like long course 200 backstroke. That's his baby. That's his pet event. Now he's got this speed. Now he's racing IM. Now he's, winning the 100 backstroke at the World Cup level by a big margin. So I think he's just got that confidence and that mix of speed and power and skill now to go with this obviously huge aerobic pace that he has coming out of Hungary and other programs that it could really start to click for him. And we see him, almost own some of these backstroke events.
Yeah, for sure. I think, didn't you break Luca Orlando's 100 backstroke record last year at NCAA's, guys? Am I making that up? Was he close to it? Did he beat it?
No, I think he broke it. Yeah,
he got it. And I remember before that race, we were going, no way that goes down. And then to your point, like he continues to surprise and outperform what I think most of us expect from a originally 200 backstroke guy, a 200 and up guy, a Bowman guy. And so this is further to your point.
A long course guy.
A long course guy. But I remember that was my moment for Hubie that I went, holy shit, he did it short course yards. Like we did not think that was going to happen in the moment, and he got it. And so, so let's just talk about like, is there anything that surprised you? Have we already talked about it? What maybe was like a shocker of the Carmel stuff anyway?
I think Casper Corbeau's like really improved. So, on the podium from Paris, podium again in Singapore, but now he's got speed. Now he's coming up first off the dive. We weren't seeing that in Paris last year. So there's been a coaching change. There's other changes. So again, in this year, breaststroke, it's certainly not as strong as it was last year with Chin and are you guys there? Yeah. So I think he's one to watch for the rest of the tour, and then next year as well. The other thing, what we were talking earlier as well, is like, I would like to see the World Cups like last year and next year going into World Short Course, like combine World Short Course as a part of the World Cups. So if there's a point score system, make it 3 legs and then it's double points into World Short Course, right? Let's build the storylines, get these guys doing the World Cups, racing a ton of events, and then going and representing their country at World Short Course where there's prestige and medals on the line, and then they're getting double the prize money as well. I think that would add another storyline to it and could make it really good. But kudos to World Aquatics. They're obviously changing the entertainment value of swimming. It's a 90-minute schedule. It's packed. John, you've been really enjoying the interviews. We're not watching medal presentations and walking around the pool and other things. So it's an action-packed 3-day program. And I think what's also going to help the buy-in of the World Cups over the next few years, and I know it's not a perfect qualification procedure at the moment, but that 2027, when the World Cups become a selection procedure for those form stroke 50s at the Olympics, then we're going to see a lot of federations and a lot of coaches really start to take the World Cup series a lot more seriously. So I think off the back of LA, World Cups will step up a notch again.
Quick follow on the details of the 2027 selection process, because that is one evolution that I think is really good for the World Cup. And I think earlier on when we were talking about like what is the World Cup and how do we add meaning to it, I think incorporating the World Cup to have some meaning, whether that's like additional points that prepares you going into your point total at Short Course Worlds, or as you mentioned, World Aquatics has introduced some of the like early details of how it'll be involved in the selection process for the 50 meters for, the LA Olympics. I think there's a lot of question marks still for the national governing bodies as to how exactly their selection process will kind of supplement what World Aquatics has introduced. But have you heard any initial reaction kind of from the swimming community and those in your corner about that change for the 2027 World Cup and like adding that meaning to it for the Olympic qualification process?
Just what we saw online from what people are posting and talking about it. I've had some conversations with Cam McAvoy. He's got a lot of ideas about how to make the World Cup like more of a valued before the major championship meet, the World Cups to lead into World Championships every year, or again in the off years, mid Olympic cycle, make the World Cup the pinnacle of the year as well. Like there's no reason that we can't do that either. But in terms of, the form stroke 50s for the Olympics, as you said, like I'm not fully around that whole qualification procedure, but the main thing is like federations don't even have to abide by that, so it seems quite unusual to go to the lengths to announce that as the procedure, but the main one being the US, it's highly likely that they don't even follow that and they don't even select those guys. But we want to see, ideally at the end of the day, we want to see the best 50-meter swimmers racing that event at the Olympic Games. And not just the 100-meter guys just adding an extra event to it, and even, for the Americans with Dressel, like if he doesn't do the 100 fly, he might not even be there in the 50 fly, right? Like, so that just using that as an example, you sort of want those best guys going in. So I like the change, and they are trying to change and make change, but even better was, 9 months out, you could get those 50 guys guaranteed a spot at the Olympic Games, maybe even scrapping like the 2 per nation rule and giving them a 9-month prep into Paris. Because what we're going to see, especially on the men's side, is guys are going to be 50 only swimmers pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to just some hot topics and hot takes that I think are on our minds for the World Cup, for short course, for swimming in general. So first, I just want to hit on, who do you think is the best short course swimmer to ever win a World Cup but never win a major long course meters title? Who comes to mind?
Me, of course.
Yeah, well, fair point. Yeah.
No, I think if you mean like an a short course world title, again, I think I mentioned it earlier, like when I came on racing backstroke in 07, 08, I was like Peter Marshall and Randall Bell, were just the guys, these big 6'6" barrel chested Stanford guys, just dominating the circuit. And I thought, how cool is that? They just travel around 8 competitions around the world, race the 1500 backstroke only, and make a ton of prize money as well. So there were guys that I raced against and had some wins, had some losses. Arcadia Viachinen was there as well. He always did the World Cups around then. And then Darian Townsend too. So Darian was a great short course swimmer, super versatile again, and on a much tougher program. But, back in 2012, 2013, Darian was rolling like 142s, 200 freestyle just every week. Was so smooth, but again, didn't really have that jump to go at major competitions at World Short Course. I don't think he even did different World Short Course for a long time. So they're the few that come into mind.
I'm going to say Jordan Crooks. If Jordan Crooks is actually retired, fully retired, then I think you're only 19.9 guy, sub 20 guy, short course is got it. I don't know. That's mine. Who do you got, John?
Is that the word? He's retired?
Well,
I
I don't know.
back in the
Taking a
water.
break.
I think
I don't know.
He's back in the water.
It seemed like
Nelson. Did Beta Nelson ever win a world title, or did she just win the World Cup circuit? But she was killing it there for a while, short course, and just couldn't translate it all the way to the big pool.
Yeah, definitely. She's one of the ones. Anybody come to mind for you, Luke?
I was thinking Dylan Carter because he won the World Crown, but never got a long course,
That's one thing I think is interesting about World Cup, though, is it gives you an opportunity to see some of these people that shine. And Dylan's the perfect example, I think, of somebody who is absolutely on fire, like competing in all 50s of stroke, able to do it in the hundreds and accumulate enough points, to win. And yet, I think you know Dylan personally. I've met him, I think, wanting to see that long course performance and still, seemingly like thinks that it's good coming in, and then we just haven't seen it nearly at that same level in long course. So,
but that's a situation like Dylan and Beta won in 2022. So that was leading into a world short course title. From memory, Beta wasn't even selected on the team because the US picked it off long course, right?
That's right.
And then Dylan raced in Melbourne. I think he got a medal. He was certainly in all those 50-meter finals. He's usually on a podium every now and then. But again, I don't know Dylan like you do, but obviously he made a decision to focus on the World Cup series, make a ton of money, and then just try and see what happens at World Short Course because, $100,000 plus going back to Trinidad is going to get you a long way. Like that's why when you look at the overall list of World Cup winners, it's all the South Africans, right? It's Ray and Roland and Chad, Cameron, Matt Sates, because they bring that money home and it's life-changing sort of money. And Chad and Cameron would say in South Africa, they don't know if it's a World Championships or a World Cup. They think it's the same thing. So you come home with 30 gold medals and your name's even bigger. So that becomes a big decision for athletes on that World Short Course year.
And I think to your point, I think, for the uninformed swimming, community, for the general sports fan, if you say World Cup, man, that sounds like a big freaking deal. Yeah. And so it is a big deal, but it's not a world championship title. And yet, to the average fan, they wouldn't know a difference. To the beat writer for the local sports publication, they wouldn't know the difference. I want to call back to one name you mentioned earlier, Coleman Stewart, for the world record holder in the 100 backstroke short course. And it still stands, not to be named to the US team because they selected off long course was, asinine back in that same year in 2022. I remember talking to him at one of those stops, I think in Toronto, where I was like, what are you going to do, man? You're not on the team. Like, and he's like, what are you, I don't know, but one of the best underwater kickers ever, that guy. And, for some reason, hopefully that changes in the US going forward. I sure hope. All right, let's go to the next topic. Leon losing 5 races. Is this a nothing burger or a something burger, Bobby?
No, I don't think it's I think it's a nothing burger. Like, it's not like he swam poorly at all. I actually think his 200 backstroke was pretty insane, 147, considering that's his worst stroke. And he was beaten by some pretty impressive guys like Cassis's American record in the 200 IM. He was less than a second off his world record. So I think that and also probably his decision to just do one event out of the 3 probably shows what stage of the preparation he's actually at. But again, I like his fearlessness to race some off events and race mornings, swim finals from an outside lane. Like Leon has this it's like he's human, but he's incredible in the water. But you see those more and more elements of human, like if you compare it to like Phelps and Ian Thorpe, they just never raced it, right? They just totally skipped it and bypassed it. And very rarely have we seen Ledecky swim at this stage as well. So at this sort of level. So I think it's good that we're getting literally the world's best swimmers like Leon and Summer buy into more and more racing. And they're so versatile. So like even with Summer races next week, who knows what event she's going to do? She could do the backstroke, she could do the fly, she could do the medley, she could break world records, she could do the distance freestyle. Like probably all the other women on the World Cup are sitting on their hands going, geez, I wonder what Summer's going to race next week, because it's going to affect that overall point score big time.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, next one. Hot take. World Cup should get rid of prelims, move to timed finals, and also move back to a 2-day format. Do you agree or disagree?
Some agree and some disagree. I think it'll stay a 3-day program because it's got to keep it short and sharp, right? If it's 2 days, the program goes out to 2.5 or 3 hours, and people just aren't going to watch for that long period of a time. So they like that it's a short, condensed program. I like no prelims. That would make the quality of racing quicker. My take on that is maybe you could do prelims at the first stop, and then if you're in that final, you can somehow guarantee yourself a spot, or the top 6, for example, maybe guarantee a spot in the next couple of finals. So that makes prelims at stop number 1 like red hot, really quick. But yeah, I mean, I don't follow track and Diamond League that much, but are these guys racing just rounds and rounds and rounds of meaningless heats, just to wear people down? Like, because overall, what gets the headlines, like we saw last year in the World Cup in Budapest, is those world records and amazing swims. So let's give the athletes the opportunity to do that more frequently, right?
Mm-hmm.
In 2027, prelims of the race will take place on day 1, cutting the field to 32. Day 1 evening session, the field cut to 16. Day 2 evening session, the field's cut to 8. Day 3 evening session, the top 6 earn qualification spots for the stroke 50s Olympic Games. So maybe like in between, like you can like advance, and the final day you have finals of, I don't know. It's an interesting change that we could look at. What are you saying?
My hope is that in 26 they will incorporate that format so that the athletes get a sense of how to race it a year ahead. And anybody who's serious about racing the 50s come London has a chance to compete in that format, in that like sequence of, cadence of stops. That they can do that. I mean, I guess I think they said like they're going to have a breaststroke stop and a backstroke stop and a fly stop, but at least they can, get a practice round. I think World Aquatics owes the athletes that.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, that might really change the way, and also at that level, like you can't take it. I mean, it's 32 to get through the first, that first group, but you can't even take it too slow. Like Cam and Ben Proud have talked like at length about how to progress from heat, semis, and finals, and how emotionally difficult that is, not from a physical point of view, but just from your emotional energy. And we saw it this year with Alexi and a few other people as well. When you go like lights out in the morning, 9 times out of 10, 36 hours later in the final, it's not going to be as quick.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. If Michael Phelps took short course meters seriously, which events would he have broken the world record in, and would any of them still stand today?
Well, none of them would still stand, that's for sure. I mean, his long course world records don't stand. So I think we can all agree he was a better long course swimmer than a short course swimmer. But who's to say he didn't take it seriously? Maybe he just wasn't that good. I mean, and we had, there was also Lochte there who was taking that limelight at the time in those same events. Certainly he would have demolished the world records at that time, like from probably 05 through to post-suit era. They would have been pretty quick. Like Leon, I think he would have done a really good turn and backstroke, just basically staying underwater. Phelps's like long course backstroke he did in 2007, I think it was incredibly quick. I actually think his short course fly meters probably wouldn't be that good because he's more of like a momentum butterfly, like efficient, low in the water, and those walls probably would have like stopped him out a little bit. Similar to Milak, like Milak's a great underwater kicker, but he's never even raced short course. Like he's never done anything in short course meters, so we don't really know. I think in butterfly and breaststroke, some people are more like momentum swimmers and need that extra length there. So I think he would have dominated at the time. Obviously, he did with everything every event and everything that he focused on at that time, Phelps. But his records would be broken right now.
Okay, last one on these like hot takes or topics. What is the current best short course meter world record on the books?
Got me off guard there. Let's think. I mean, the 1406 is pretty good, short course meters. I mean, anything anything from Gretchen as well on the women's side. I'm a bit more biased to the men's side. I mean, if anyone breaks that world record, we're talking about like a 13-minute 1500 freestyle, which is pretty nuts. And for a long time, I would have said Mitch Larkin's 145.6. That was incredible. I mean, that was not at a targeted meet, but Mitch was on fire in 2015, and he pretty much he went out 24 point and just held on. And Kosh got really close to that in Budapest last year, but no one's touched that for a long time. You know, 145, like it's a freestyle time, seriously. So they're the few that pop into my mind.
There's Yannick Gagnon, 2012. That's your era.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. 332. Yeah. I don't think we really saw like the full potential of Yannick. Obviously won the Olympics and whatnot, but he dropped off pretty quickly. And you know, I was in the US swimming in around 2013, 2014. I think that 500 free record was 408 for a long time, and until 2019 or something like that, 2018. Like I think in 2012, Yannick goes like 402. You know, 402 or better. I think he would have just wiped that, because 332 is really quick.
30.
Yeah,
really quick.
Yeah. That's a fun thought exercise whenever you think about like how does that one performance and that one course format translate to the other formats. That's one of the most fun topics in swimming, I think, is like, for example, like the one in short course yards tends to be Dressel 17.6 in short course yards, and how that, you know, is easily a 19 something short course meters, but we just didn't see it, you know, happen. So, but there's obviously lots of others like that.
Well, the other bit to that is like, I mean, those that I've never been to an NCs, but that environment is just like electric. Yeah. So those guys are just you're doing like out of body performances and things like that. It's very different to do that. Obviously the pressure of the Olympics, or, you know, I'm sure Jordan Crooks would say it's different swimming for Cayman in Budapest versus representing Tennessee and, you know, just in a house packed full of swimming fans standing on their feet. I think it's two totally different environments.
For sure. Yeah. Okay, Bobby, what's on your radar for the rest of this like World Cup series this year? We got 2 more stops. We're going to Westmont and Toronto. What are you looking forward to see? Anything that you think is going to happen? I don't know. What are you excited about? What's on your radar?
I think there'll be a little bit of for the most part, like a bit of a dip in Westmont. I think once those guys everyone's just finding their feet and then knowing that that there is that third stop as well. We bring Summer into it, so it'll be interesting to see what sort of shape she's in. She's been at Texas for a few months, is that right? So she's in that program. All those Texas guys look pretty good. They look like they're swimming pretty fast. And she's someone that she owns so many of those world records already. I'd imagine, well, obviously, if she's missed the first leg, she can't win the overall World Cup tour, right? She can't win just based on points, but she can certainly like upset the apple cart there. But again, as we mentioned, I think, you know, maybe me just looking at short course backstroke, like Hubie Kosh could really surprise and break his first individual world record. And then Molly O'Callaghan and Lani Pallister as well, you know, focusing and getting better at that short course racing in their own events could really announce themselves as well.
Well, we're excited to see it. It's fun to be swim fans. It's fun to see some records. So I'm hopeful that there's more records that fall. Some of the ones that you mentioned may be coming, but stoked to get Summer back in. Hopefully we do see her. And I think the precursor of what is to come in the World Cup is exciting too. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see some major flops and people fall out, but I'm here to see more records. So let's get excited for those. Bobby, would love to check back in with you maybe on the heels of the World Cup. And thanks for going through this World Cup intro and check in with us. You're welcome back anytime, my friend. But thank you for hanging out.
Yeah. Thanks. It's been good chatting, and we'll see in 2 weeks if any of our predictions have come right or not.
Hell yeah. Maybe we'll come back and do a recap on those as well. So, well, with that, enjoy this. If you're enjoying Social Kick and, checking in on the World Cups, share it with one of your friends. You can give us a follow on Instagram at Social Kick Swim, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.
Hey everyone, thanks for hanging out with us. If you enjoyed this episode of Social Kick and you'd like to see more, subscribe to the channel. And we love talking swimming, and we'd love to talk about swimming with you. So leave us a comment, and we'll see you next time.